Have you ever like had one of those dreams where you could fly?
Absolutely, the gravity-free one.
Right. And I don't mean, piloting an airplane or strapping on a jetpack or anything like that. I mean, you just push off the ground and suddenly gravity completely forgets about you.
Yeah, you just sort of float up.
Exactly. You're
Yeah.
soaring over buildings, looking down at the streets, and the feeling that washes over you is just, well, it's this profound, lingering sense of absolute unbound freedom.
It's a remarkably universal human experience, really, that sensation of being totally untethered,
Yeah.
where the physical rules of the universe are just like temporarily suspended, leaving you completely weightless.
And then, you wake up, you open your eyes, and you immediately feel the physical weight of the blankets.
Oh, the worst.
Right. The heaviness of your own limbs. And you realize you're anchored right back down to the mattress. We've all been there. But what if that feeling, that incredible, impossible lightness, what if it wasn't just a biological trick of your sleeping brain? What if it was actually like a preview of waking reality?
It's a super compelling proposition. What if the limitation keeping us grounded isn't actually gravity, but our own density?
Welcome to today's deep dive. Today, we're exploring a truly fascinating text from 2013 by an author named Swifeng.
Yes, it's called The Celestial Path is Ethereal and Sublime.
Right. And our mission today is to examine a fairly extraordinary claim at the heart of this work, because Swifeng argues that human beings can literally achieve flight and even invisibility.
Which sounds crazy at first.
Exactly. But he says it's not through magic or futuristic technology. It's by mastering our own vibrational frequency and completely shedding the ego.
We are looking at a framework here that takes very grounded physical concepts, things like speed and vibration, and just stretches them into profound, almost radical spiritual territory. It essentially asks us to dismantle what we consider to be solid, unchangeable reality.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the author doesn't start with ancient mysticism, right? He grounds the entire theory in a simple, almost childlike experiment that you could do right now.
Yes, it is a brilliantly accessible entry point for such a lofty premise.
He asks you to take any physical object, hold it in your hand, and wave it rapidly back and forth in front of your eyes.
Just wave it right in front of your face.
Yeah. And he breaks down what happens as you increase the speed into 4 distinct stages. So stage 1, the object is perfectly still.
And its details, its physical outlines, they're entirely clear.
Right. Then stage 2.
Yeah.
You start waving it, and it begins to blur. You lose those fine details.
Because our eyes physically cannot process the sensory input fast enough, the visual data starts to smear.
Yeah, it's just like dragging across your vision. Then we hit stage 3. You wave it extremely fast, and he says it ceases to look like a solid object at all.
It becomes this fuzzy, almost transparent image of molecules just vibrating in space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And finally, stage 4, and this is like the crux of the entire argument here. If the speed reaches a certain critical threshold, he claims you won't see it at all. It effectively disappears.
Which is where Shifeng establishes the foundational rule for everything that follows in the text. Physical matter, and our perception of it, is entirely dependent on its vibrational frequency.
Wow.
Yeah, and to illustrate this, he refers back to an earlier concept he developed called the stone crossing the river.
Oh, I love this analogy.
It's great. If you drop a stone into a river, it has low speed, right? So it sinks straight to the bottom. But if you throw that same stone with immense velocity, like if you skip it...
It grazes right across the surface without sinking.
Precisely.
And the material of the stone hasn't changed. The molecular density of the water hasn't changed. The only variable keeping it from sinking is its speed.
Exactly. And he takes that literal physical example of the skipping stone and applies it to what we traditionally call miracles.
Oh, right. The biblical stuff.
Yes. He specifically analyzes the biblical account of Jesus walking on water. According to this framework, that event wasn't a suspension of physics.
It wasn't magic.
Right, it wasn't magic. It was the natural result of a physical body vibrating at an incredibly high frequency.
So high that it just skimming the surface.
Yeah, the frequency was so intensely high that, just like the fast-moving skipping stone, sinking became physically impossible.
But I have to push back here, or at least play devil's advocate for a second.
Go for it.
Let's think about a ceiling fan. When a ceiling fan is on its highest setting, the blades blur.
Sure.
If it spins fast enough, it almost looks transparent, you know? You can look right through the blur to the ceiling above.
Right.
But if I reach my hand up there, which obviously I definitely shouldn't do.
Please don't.
But if I did, I'm going to violently hit A solid physical fan blade. We know the blades are still physically there, right? They're just moving too fast for our optical nerves to process.
That's a really good point.
So, is Weffing arguing for a neat optical illusion? Or is he arguing for actual, literal disappearance? Because an invisible fan blade will still chop off your finger.
That is the exact friction point of this theory, and it's vital to clarify. With a ceiling fan, the object's molecular structure hasn't fundamentally changed its phase. It's just rotating quickly in space.
Okay.
Weffing is distinctly not arguing for an optical illusion. He is arguing for a literal structural transition of the object itself.
Wait, really? So the actual atomic vibration shifts it completely out of phase with our physical reality?
Yes. Think about water turning to steam.
Oh, okay.
The H2O molecules are still there, right?
Yeah.
But their energetic frequency has increased so much that they change phase. They go from a visible, tangible, heavy liquid to an invisible, weightless gas.
That makes a lot of sense.
Weffing is claiming that if you push the vibrational frequency of solid matter high enough, it undergoes a phase change that places it entirely beyond our spectrum of physical interaction.
So they don't cease to exist.
No, they don't cease to exist, they just leave our perceivable dimension.
Which perfectly bridges the gap into the biological side of his argument. It's not just about skipping stones or waving hands, right? It's about human perception.
Exactly.
And we actually see this idea of phasing out echo across different eras. Shui Feng points to ancient Taoist lore, specifically the concept of transcending and becoming a celestial in feathered form.
And he insists this shouldn't be read as poetry or like a metaphor for death.
No, he takes it quite literally.
He treats it as a literal historical record of human beings pushing their physical and spiritual vibrations so high that they underwent that exact phase change. They left the visible spectrum.
Wow.
And this isn't just an ancient idea. We see this exact phenomenon of phasing out described in modern pop culture, too.
Right. He brings up the ninth insight from the Celestine prophecy.
Yes.
It describes a scenario where a group of people collectively vanishes. But the crucial detail is that they didn't evaporate into nothingness. They simply transitioned beyond the range of normal physical perception.
Right, they just shifted gears.
Yeah, the people who vanished could still clearly see the world they left behind, but the people left behind could no longer see them.
Because the two groups were suddenly operating on completely different frequencies.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because that sounds like pure science fiction, until you look at the hard biological data about our own human bodies.
Oh, the sensory limits.
Yeah. We know for a biological fact that our sensory bandwidth is agonizingly tiny. Our eyes, for all their complexity, can only detect light wavelengths between 400 and 700 nanometers.
It is a remarkably narrow sliver of the electromagnetic spectrum.
It's practically nothing. And our ears only pick up sounds between 20 and 20,000 hertz. Anything outside of those very specific numbers, above them or below them, is quite literally invisible and inaudible to us.
Right.
Now, Sui Feng takes that hard biological limitation and uses it as the launch pad for a massive philosophical and spiritual leap. He uses those limitations to build his concept of the Elysium world, or the heavenly kingdom.
Right, and he posits that this heavenly realm isn't some distant galaxy or like an afterlife you travel to. It is right here.
Right on top of us.
Exactly. The physical space we are sitting in right now is already part of it. The sky above us is an empty space. He claims it is filled with mountains, rivers, celestial lands, and advanced beings.
That's just wild to picture.
We simply cannot perceive them because we are biologically locked into our 400 to 700 nanometer cage.
Because they are vibrating outside our bandwidth. So when someone ascends, when they hit that higher frequency, they haven't moved physically. They've simply keyed into a higher frequency space that was there all along.
Like tuning a radio dial.
Yes. And this brings it all the way back to the flying dream we talked about at the beginning. He calls those dreams a literal revelation.
They really are in this context.
Think about the mechanics of that dream. You are flying, you're looking down, and you can see all the people on the ground perfectly clearly. But they never look up at you. To them, you don't exist.
Because within the logic of the dream, your frequency is higher than theirs.
Exactly. And Zufeng asserts this is an exact parallel to our waking reality. Just as you fly above the dream characters unseen, he claims that right now, countless higher beings are soaring above us.
Which is a bit spooky, but also sort of beautiful.
Right. They can see you and me clearly, but because of our dense, low-frequency state, We are completely oblivious to them.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, think about your own life right now. You might be listening to this on your commute or, sitting at your desk feeling completely overwhelmed by the sheer amount of information, stress, and noise in the world.
Oh, absolutely.
But this framework presents a profound irony. You feel overwhelmed by the world, yet biologically, you are blind and deaf to 99.9% of what is actually happening right around you.
Wow.
You are stressing over a tiny, tiny fraction of reality.
It really shrinks your daily problems down to size, doesn't it?
It really does.
But, okay, let's explore the actual mechanics here. Let's say we entertain this thought experiment. We accept that physical matter is just vibration, our senses are incredibly limited, and there's a vibrant, invisible Elysium world existing right on top of us.
Okay, I'm with you.
The obvious question is, how do we get there? If we can fly, how do we physically initiate that phase change?
Well, to take flight, to rise into that higher life space, Zhufeng says you have to elevate the vibrational frequency of your body, mind, and spirit
Okay, but how?
by entering what he calls the ethereal state.
But how does a psychological state change your physical wavelength? That's the leap that kind of trips me up.
It is a big leap.
Like, how does changing my mindset alter the nanometer frequency of my actual cells?
He proposes a direct, inseparable psychosomatic link. Think about how stress works in the body. We know that psychological anxiety creates literal physical heaviness.
Right, like cortisol flooding the system.
Exactly. Cortisol floods the system, your muscles tense up, your chest feels tight, your psychological state physically weighs your body down.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Sheriffin takes that biological reality to its absolute metaphysical extreme. He argues that ego, attachment, and fear aren't just abstract thoughts, they possess conceptual mass.
They actually weigh something.
Yes, they are dense, heavy anchors that keep your bodily frequency sluggish.
So entering the ethereal state means cutting those anchors. And he defines this state very rigidly, right? No ego, no form, no attachment, no burden, no fear, and no obsession.
Total reduction of conceptual mass. And to explain how to achieve this, he relies heavily on Eastern philosophy, specifically quoting the Heart Sutra.
Right, from Buddhism.
Yeah, it's a foundational text in Mahayana Buddhism, and he uses it here as the literal instruction manual for the ethereal state.
What does it say?
The text outlines that all phenomena are empty in nature, neither arising nor ceasing, neither tainted nor pure, neither increasing nor decreasing.
So it's basically dismantling the idea that anything in our 400 to 700 nanometer world is permanent, solid, or inherently valuable.
Correct. But then the Heart Sutra gets even more radical. It dictates that in this state of emptiness, there is no form, no sensation, perception, formation, or consciousness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, or mind.
And it's demanding you detach from your very physical biology.
And it culminates with no suffering, no origin of suffering, no wisdom, and no attainment.
So what does this all mean for us? Because frankly, this is where the philosophy directly clashes with human nature.
It really does.
Look at how we are wired to live. We spend our entire lives desperately trying to build a unique identity. We go to school and read books specifically to gain wisdom.
Right.
We work decades to attain things, a career, a family, a legacy. We go to therapy to figure out the origins of our suffering so we can overcome it.
Accumulate.
Exactly. But Fiafeng, via the Heart Sutra, is telling us that to achieve ultimate freedom, we must desire no wisdom and no attainment. We must have no mind.
It's a total reversal.
How are we supposed to square that circle? How do you function in the world while systematically deleting everything that makes you you?
This raises an important question, and it really gets to the core of the immense psychological trade-off required for ascension. The instruction is explicit. Stop living for yourself. Only through selflessness can the true self emerge. When the self is completely surrendered, the ethereal state is attained.
It's intense.
The friction you're feeling is exactly the point. We view our identities, our wisdom, and our achievements as our greatest treasures. Zhufeng views them as lead weights.
Because they have mass.
Exactly. Let's go back to the physics of the skipping stone. Why does the slow stone sink?
Because it's not moving fast enough to overcome its own weight.
Right, because the surface tension of the water cannot support its dense mass at a low velocity. You cannot vibrate at the speed of the invisible Elysium world while dragging all the luggage of the physical world behind you.
Wow.
The trade-off is absolute. You can only become completely light by dropping every single piece of baggage you carry. And the heaviest piece of baggage you own is your ego, your very sense of self.
It's the ultimate paradox. Only through egolessness can the true being be fulfilled. You have to entirely lose yourself to find your true self in this higher space.
Yep.
Because the moment you want to attain flight, just to feel special, well, your ego has anchored you right back to the ground.
It is a roadmap of total, terrifying surrender. He instructs the reader not to hesitate, doubt, or worry, because fear is just another heavy concept.
It's been an incredibly expansive journey on this deep dive today. We started with something as tangible as waving your hand in front of your face, watching a solid form blur into a vibrating haze.
We then explored the hard biological limits of our eyes and ears, and examined how those sensory boundaries might just be a curtain hiding a vast Elysium world, populated by higher beings operating just outside our perception.
And finally, we confronted the demanding wisdom of the Heart Sutra, realizing that the ultimate key to unlocking this hidden reality isn't technology, but the terrifying surrender of our own ego and identity.
It's a framework that challenges everything from the physics of solid matter to the value of your own personality.
And addressing you, the listener, right now. Whether you choose to engage with Sui Feng's text literally, believing you can physically raise your frequency to achieve invisibility in flight, or if you view it as a profound metaphor, the core psychological lesson is undeniably powerful.
Absolutely.
The heaviest things keeping us anchored, the things that make us sink like that slow-moving stone in the river, are almost always our own ego, our fears, and our relentless, exhausting need to attain more.
So true.
Dropping those things, even just a little bit in your daily life, undeniably makes you lighter.
It changes your relationship with the gravity of your own stress. But before we wrap up, this requirement of total detachment leaves us with a rather haunting philosophical puzzle.
Oh, what's that?
The promise here is that by achieving absolute selflessness, abandoning your attachments, your desires, and your connection to the physical world, you will elevate your frequency and enter this wondrous, invisible Elysium world.
Right, the ultimate spiritual escape.
But if achieving this ethereal state requires you to vibrate entirely out of the physical realm, you are effectively leaving this world and everyone in it behind.
Oh, I see.
So, does achieving ultimate spiritual freedom mean abandoning humanity to its own suffering? If the world is full of pain, is the ultimate goal of ascension simply to escape it?
That's a really dark way to look at it, but yeah.
Or is there a way to become weightless, to drop your ego, while still remaining anchored enough to help those who are sinking? And furthermore, if entering perfect nirvana requires having no consciousness and no self to experience it, does that mean the only way to truly witness the ultimate reality is to effectively erase the you that wanted to see it in the first place?
Wow. If ultimate enlightenment requires leaving the physical world behind, does reaching heaven require turning your back on earth? That is a profound question to leave you with today.
Something to chew on, for sure.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. As you go about your day, maybe take a moment, look up at the empty sky and ask yourself, well, what might be looking back? And tonight, if you happen to find yourself unbound, weightless, and soaring over the city in your dreams, remember, maybe you aren't just dreaming. Maybe you're just practicing.
Until next time.